In order to make a proper logic here to calculate our human age, what we are going to do is to take this dog age parameter, and based on that we are going to do the calculation of our human age. Because if we were a stupid developer, we were going to do else if 5 equals 36, else if 6, then it's 40, else if 8, else if 9, whatever. So because we don't want to do this, we want to have only one proper function here. What we are going to do is to write a logic, and this is some math here. So I'm hopefully that you are doing a programming course, you are familiar with math. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to explain you what's going on here. So apart from the first and second dog age 1 and 2, the rest, since it follows constantly 4 years every time, what we are going to do is to say else, and then we are going to take the dog age that our user will input and say for our human age, actually we need to set our human age is equals, and then we take our dog age number, so we say dog age, and then we are going to say -2 from our dog age because the first two are not used. Let's put this into parentheses. And the logic is as follows. So for example, take any number of years of the dog age, for example 8, say -2, which is 6, make it times 4 because the difference we are adding 4 every year, and then we are going to add it to the 24 because our 4 years part starts from the 24. So after 24 it goes 4 years up every time. So if we take a dog age, make it -2, and then we make this times 4 because it goes 4 years every time, and put this into parentheses as well, and then we say plus, and then we add 24 because this is our age here. This will return, this function will return correct information every time. So let's for example try on dog age 10, which should be 56. So if we say dog age -2 is 8, and then we say 8 times 4, which is 32, and then we add 24 to our 32, it will make 56 because we are checking it for the 10. So you can take any number here and you will understand that the logic works perfectly. So we are checking the three things here. If it's age 1, we return human age 15. If it else if it's 2, we return 24. For the rest, we always check the human age is going to be equal to dog age -2 times 4 plus 24. But there is one problem here. What if our user inputs a dog age of 0? So what we can say is, here we can have if dog age equals to 0, and then here we say else if. This is one option of fixing our problem, and we're going to say that dog age is equal, human age is equals to 0 as well. But this is one way of doing this. There will be another way. If I were to keep this as it is, and then if I say if dog age is equals to 0, I can just say return, and we say human age, because currently human age is set to 0, and if the dog age is 0, it will call return, and it will return the value, and whatever is here will never be executed. So this is another option of doing our dog age equals 0. So it's up to you which one you are going to use. Just remember, when you have a return inside the function at some point, whatever is after return, if this evaluates true, whatever is inside after return is not going to be called. So it will never fire up, it will never happen. Okay, for the sake of our application, I'm going to keep it constant, so we use else if statement here, and we're going to say that human age is equals to 0, or we don't have to write anything because our human age is set to 0 anyway. So this is our logic that will calculate our human age. So we have our function that takes a dog age and returns a human age. So let's see where we are going to use it. Inside our calculate button, here this function is called every time we press on calculate button. So what we want to do here is to take whatever our user put in our dog age text field. So if I say let dog age is equals, and I'm going to access my dog age text field, which is a type of UI text field, and then this has a parameter called text, and you can see it has a question mark here, which means that it's an optional, so it may be nil, so there is nothing in our text field. So we are going to set this dog age is equals to our my dog age text field.text. But since we want to pass this to our calculate human age function, and this accepts an integer, what we can do is to convert this, because whatever is in our text field, it's for Xcode, this is a text, so we cannot pass a text to the function that expects an integer. What we can do is to convert this to an integer. So if I select this and put this inside parentheses and I call an int, so this is basically a function written by Apple for us. So we say int, and then we pass our string here, which is my dog age text field, and this is going to take this text, convert it into a string, an integer. So this way we convert a string into an integer. Then I want to call my calculate human. See, there is a problem here because our string is an optional, while this function needs to receive a proper value string. So we are going to put an exclamatory mark here, which is unwrapping our optional value. Basically what we are telling is that we are sure this is not nil, so you can go ahead and do your work. So then we are going to call the calculate human age function. So we say calculate human age, and now it asks us to give it a dog age. So if I take a dog age and put it here, it will calculate a human age, and it calculate and return a human age here. Again, you see that this thing, again, it tells us that this isn't optional, because this may be a nil as well. So how we can fix it? Either we can unwrap it here, we can say that we are sure that this integer will receive a value, or we can unwrap it here, again by saying that we are sure this integer is not a nil object, it has a value. We're going to talk also more about these optionals and unwrapping an optional value later on. So right now what we have here, we have our dog age that we receive from our text field, then we convert it to an integer, and then we pass it to our calculate human age function, which returns an integer. So what we want to do is to, whatever this human age is, we want to display it in our human age label. So if we say human age label, we access this, and then we access a text value of it. So every label has a text value, same as every text field has a text value. We can set this text value equals, and I'm going to put a string here, and since our calculate human age returns an integer, which is not a string, we are going to convert it to string here. So if you want to convert anything into a string, you just put two double quotation marks here, then you put a forward slash and parentheses. And now if I call my function here, and remember this function returns an integer, this will be calculated, converted into a string. So our integer, whatever the result of this function is, it will be converted into a string. So let me run my application and test if this function is actually working. So if I put that my dog age is 1 here, and if I click on calculate, it will show that my human age is 15. If I put it 2, it will calculate 24. So let's just quickly compare with our chart here. 115 to 24, which is so far so good. Let's put 4, for example, and calculate. It says 32. So let's see, 4 equals 32. So far, again, so good. Let's try the 9. Calculate, it says 52, which is correct as well. And lastly, let's try like 14, for example. And it's 72, which is correct as well. But what if I put 0? It says human age is 0 as well, which is correct. And let's say I don't put anything, and I click on calculate, you see our application is crashing. If I click on it and the crash report, it will say unexpectedly found nil while unwrapping an optional value. So remember here the dog age, when we convert our text to an integer and we send it to our function, the problem actually starts when we are taking our myDogAge text field.text and we are telling our compiler, our Xcode, then that we are sure that there is a value inside this text field. And when we click on our text field without any value, this breaks because there is the current value is nil and we are trying to use it. So what we are going to do in order to safeguard us from this type of things. First, before we do anything, we want to make sure that our user has put something in our text field. So if I use our if statement again that we are familiar with now, we say if my dog text field dot text, which is a text parameter of our text field, is not equals, and we just put an empty string here. And we put our curly braces. So what happens if it's not equals to empty string? We want to run this code. If I put an else here, we want to notify our user about this. I want to say human age label, so we will use our human age label to notify our user, and then we set the text is equals, and we say please input dog age. So let's try now to see how this is working, because now we are doing some error handling here in order to safeguard us from user not putting anything in our label. So let's say user didn't put any text and he wants to calculate. So our if statement checks if we have some kind of text, and it comes out that our text field is empty. So it jumps to else and it updates our human age label. It says please input dog age. So let's put a 4 and try, and it works now. So another thing we want to do here, because by printing for some number here, it doesn't make any sense to the user because it doesn't know that this represents a human age. So let's go to our calculate button, and where we are setting human age label dot text is equals to this, we want to say that first we want to put some text. So we say in human years, I will put the colon here, and then we pass our age. So if I run now again, And let's say I put some kind of number here, and calculate says in human years 36. So now it makes some sense. So what we learned from this small application is that how we can use our if statements, how we can use our variables and our constants, and how we can do some basic calculation here in order to find out what the correct return age is going to be. Also, we have written our function that takes a parameter and returns a parameter. So we have practiced quite a lot here. We almost used everything that we have learned so far. Plus we have learned what is a UI text field and what is UI label and how the patterns are working as well.